Raptors hit some huge shots late against the Sixers and take it 115-109. I'm Randy Urban, and this is Raptors Night Cap. Tonight, we're joined by Sherman Hamilton, Paul Jones, and Leo Rautins. Guys, that was a huge win for the Raptors on the road. Split that back-to-back against Boston and Philly. Leo, I'll start with you. Just your thoughts on those furious final minutes.
Well, first of all, I thought it was a great win considering what happened last night. You play a game where you're just flat, bad shots, bad turnovers. Defense wasn't at the level it needed to be at. And then you come right back in Philadelphia, which is a tough place to play. And granted, they're shorthanded, but they got a couple of guys back. And you pull off a tremendous effort, right? And you weathered some storms during the game. And down the stretch, Fred was incredible. OG, had some great mismatches with Drummond, took him, made the right decision, found the open man. Defensively, they made the plays when they had to. I thought that was just a big-time road victory. And, when you talk mental toughness, the guy that always seems to show it is Fred. He was there on the second night of a back-to-back bringing it. And with the minutes he's been playing, that's impressive.
Jonesy, that Fred shot was big, but that Trent shot falling out of bounds was just as big. And then it came after that, that call that got reversed. Just what did you see on that play?
Well, look, give OG and OB credit for his playmaking. The passes to both Fred and Gary Trent were right there, on time, on target. And, Leo talked about the resiliency of Fred and the mental toughness. I think that set an example for the team. To me, there were some really key moments in the game. They're down 10, end of the first half, not closing the quarter well, on the ropes. They cut it to 5. Nick Nurse comes out at the start of the second half, full court pressure. It's like, because, in the back-to-back, it's a second half where your legs die. No, we're going to energize. We're going to pressure full court the first couple of times, get this thing cooking right away. They went to the zone late in the third quarter. They got some stops there. And like I said, they had other guys helping out. Fred makes that shot, but I go back to OG's playmaking. I thought, they did a good job on the boards. The offensive rebounding was back again. All of those things were a measure of effort. The effort that wasn't there last night was there tonight.
Sure. How did you see that last couple of minutes?
Showed a lot of toughness. I really look at the last couple minutes of the game as just a reminder of who this team is. Sometimes early in the season, we've seen them have some issues, but this was another example of who they can be when the pressure's on them. They're on the road. They've been a great road team. And this was just another example of that. The guys talk about OG's playmaking. They talk about how, Gary Trent Jr. knocks down a shot. Fred VanVleet is that rock that he's always been. The rock from Rockford. How you like that one? But I do think that when you think about the bench too, Chris Boucher was excellent this game. I thought Svi Mykhailiuk was excellent in this game in terms of his energy, his defensive prowess. He didn't score the basketball a lot, but his impact and his imprint was all over this game. So they got a lot of production from different areas, but your leaders have to be your leaders. And interestingly enough, I really thought that OG became that guy who was seeing the other 9 players on the floor when he was breaking people down at the end of the game and just picking apart that Philadelphia defense and making some great decisions.
We got Chris Boucher back tonight, didn't we? If you're a Raptor fan, and I saw a couple of numbers that he is the bench. When the bench gives him at least 23 points, they've had 6 wins this year. Well, they got 26 tonight, and a lot of them from Boucher. When he's something like 7 or 8 points, that's all it takes from him. Mm-hmm. They get wins. And tonight he had arguably his best game of the season. He was back to running the floor and making things happen, playing with that energy, and things were going well for him. Because when you're doing that, and it's not going well, it looks like you're forcing stuff. I thought it worked out well for Chris tonight.
Hey, Jonesy, you talk about numbers. I don't know if you guys saw the numbers after the game that in 10 of Fred's 12 career 30-point games, they've all come on the road, and they're 9-1 in those games. That's impressive. That's
crazy.
You're talking about a guy. Yeah, you're talking about a guy on the road, man. That's the toughest place, and you got to do it. So to have that is, and look at how many players we see that have when they have their best scoring games, it doesn't translate to winning. When this guy scores, it makes them. It impacts his team in a big way.
Real quick, Jonesy, going back to what you said about Boucher, Nick gave him minutes really early. I think it was like the 7-minute mark, 5 minutes gone in the first. Do you think that helps him?
Yeah, it does. It does. I mean, Nick shortened all the rotations tonight. There were guys in there really early tonight, and I think that's a function of the back-to-back. But that gets Chris going. I mean, we've always talked about it. He's a guy. He comes in there, man. Things happen. He's running the floor. He's keeping the ball alive. He's shooting it when he gets it. And he got a chance to get in there early tonight, and I think that helped him.
And guys, I just think Nick Nurse pressed all the right buttons in this game. He did a very good job on the sidelines of having his pulse on the game. And, we talk about that pressure he put on them at a very unique time in the game. Through that zone at Philadelphia and really changed the complexion of the game. The substitutions, the execution and play calling out of dead balls and timeouts, they were all on point. I thought Nick did a very, very good job of really getting the most out of his team on the second night of a back-to-back, really made their job as palatable as he could based on an energy standpoint.
Sure, it's funny you say that.
I was just going to jump in to tag Sherm's point. Sherm, when you're a player and you're down and all of a sudden you get a little boost and things start going well, Leo, and all of a sudden the team's playing well, and there's that the confidence is zero sum. When I have a lot, you have a little. So now you wrestle the confidence back. You're feeling good. You're taking it to them on their own home floor. That provides an energy lift for everybody connected with your team.
And Jonesy, to Sherm's point, the Nick pressing all the right buttons, doing all the right thing, that didn't start tonight.
No.
How you react to what happened last night, how you handle that loss, or just the way the team doesn't do the things you're supposed to do, playing sloppy, that, how you handle that and how you communicate with your guys coming into this game impacts this game. So not only did he have to press the right buttons tonight, but he had to do it from the time that yesterday's game ended to tonight. And that tells you a lot about his instincts and his ability to coach this team.
Well, the way I see it too is this is sort of par for the course for a Nick Nurse coach team with the Raptors. And because there's so many, we've all been here and watched the team since its inception. And there were so many times where, it was looking really good. They were up, 5, 6, 7, 8 points late. They give up that 7-0 run. They give up the lead. And then all of a sudden they would fall apart. But Nick Nurse's teams are not falling apart in those critical moments. And I think that's really important. And that gives the team confidence going forward too. But I want to go back to Fred real quick because he was their leading scorer. And Leo, he really, in my mind, kept the team above water until they got those legs, until Jonesy says they were energized in the second half.
Well, one of the things that, I said during the broadcast that, with Fred, he came out scoring, right? 15 points in the first quarter. But with Fred, just having him on the floor, just being there makes the difference, right? Because he's going to pick and choose when he's going to be the distributor, when he's going to be the driver, when he's going to push tempo, when he's going to take the shots. But just being there on the floor, you're always going to get great defense, smart defense. And his presence is a calming factor for everybody. You can play through this. You can come back. You can hold the lead. Those things when Fred's on the floor. So just being on the floor makes a huge difference.
And it's been about a show and a half since we talked about Scotty Barnes, which feels way too long, Sherm. He was part of that third quarter run as well, right? He made some great plays in that queue.
Yeah, I mean, Scotty Barnes just impresses me every time he hits the floor. And it's not necessarily the stat sheet stuffing that he's so good at, but his mind for the game at such a young age is so impressive to watch. How he, matriculates through a game, how he develops plays, how he watches things unfold. And then that's one side of it. But the ability to make the play, the right kind of pass at the right time to the right guy within the flow of what you're trying to do, it's phenomenal. And, even in this game tonight, he only had 4 assists, but it felt like he was making way more plays than that because of the way he plays the game. So, and again, defensively, he's active, he's long, he's rangy. I liked in that, I think it was the third quarter where he got squared up. They ran a couple plays for him, and he just banged a 18-foot jump shot, then came back the next time and he attacked off the dribble. He just makes decisions that you expect a guy who's been in the league for 5, 6, 7 years to be making. He's doing it right now, and it's refreshing to see.
How about 15? He scored or assisted on 15 of the 29 points in the third quarter. Not bad.
Yeah.
It's pretty good.
Jonesy, what do you think about the reffing? Do you like the defense getting that much, leeway, that much rope?
Listen. I've always got a comment on the officiating. I think the NBA needs to come up with an after the shot foul. I really think they need that. There are so many times we see guys now shooting a three, the ball's gone. There's a little hit on the follow through after the ball's gone. I mean, they followed through, the gooseneck is there, then they get hit on the wrist and they go down like they're shot. And the referee calls a foul on the shot. That didn't impact the shot. That's a foul after the shot. And I see it all the time. I mean, how many times do we see guys go for a dunk and in the past, Serge Ibaka blocks the dunk and then they call a foul with the body? No, he got the ball clean. And when a guy's coming with that much force, you got to meet it with force. Get the ball clean. If there's body contact after, then call it after the shot. But the shot was blocked, so it's a foul after the shot. I think they need to tweak the rules a little bit here and there. Just me. Maybe I'm a stickler for that kind of stuff, but I think it'll help the flow of the game a little bit more. And there are other stuff that they'll be able to let go.
Sure.
I like the physical play. I enjoy seeing the physical play.
Yeah.
I just say this. I think it's just like when they went away from calling, not allowing these guys to play physical basketball. When you weren't allowed to touch people, every ref was blowing the whistle right away. Then it normalized. Then they settled in. Then they figured, okay, this is the contact that we want to call. It's going to take some time. I'm seeing a lot of physical basketball right now. But then I sit back and I have to wonder, is this because the version of basketball I had been watching had been whistled down so much that now I think this is physical based on what I've seen over the last few years? Or is it actually physical? Look, contact is a part of basketball. It's going to happen. And I think guys are going to have to play through it. And to me, this is a little bit of that international game coming back to the NBA where it's way more physical overseas than it is in the NBA. And they're trying to marriage it and find that good, healthy balance between physicality and still keeping the game in an offensive-minded flow.
Well, Leo, you've got stories on that. Do you like it?
Absolutely. I think Sherman makes a great point that is it really that physical or is it relative to what we've been seeing? But I'll take it, right? I don't mind a little bit more physicality because, hey, the reality is it just got too soft. I mean, it got too, you gotta be able to have some contact. As Jonesy said, you're going to meet people. There's going to be energy. There's going to be forces. You got to allow some of that to happen if you want to have a good game, a competitive game. So absolutely, bring it on.
Hey, let me say this. Let me say this, Randall, just before we end. A lot of the talk recently was, could this guy play back in the day in this era when it was physical? And I'm listening now, and I'm starting to hear, to Sherm's point, that the game has been whistled down so much that now that there's a little bit more physicality involved, I'm hearing complaints. It's like, hang on a second. Like Leo said, this is the way it was back in the day. So if you're saying, well, I could have played back then, well, then let me see you play through some of this stuff. There's going to be some missed calls.
The reality is
there's going to be some bumps.
Hey, whatever you've been taught or ingrained to play, you'll play. If LeBron James was in the Michael Jordan era, James would be physical and not whining about calls because that's the way the game was. He grew up in a different era where he could do what he can do, and he can and he can react to physicality in a different way. But it's just a different era. It's not that any of these guys couldn't play, but they just learned the game in a different time.
Right. Surprisingly, I agree with all three of you. Even
we all must be wrong, man. We all must be wrong.
All right, guys, gotta stop you there. Good stuff as always. Next game for the Raptors, Saturday night, back home at Scotiabank Arena, 7:30 p.m. Eastern is the tip. They'll take on the Detroit Pistons. We'll see you then.